When I believed in Jesus and became a Christian, I was 12 years old. When I went to college, I started studying the Bible more, and I started hearing more about God's will, that it was important to know God's will, but it was very difficult to understand. And so I took that thought into adulthood. Knowing God's will is a hard thing. When I was about 40, God impressed upon me the need to begin praying more. I had prayed, but I didn't know a lot about it, and I didn't pray that often. So as I began learning about prayer, studying it in the Bible, and listening to what God had to say, He began teaching me a lot of things. And He drew me to the model prayer there in Matthew 6, where Jesus taught His disciples how to pray. As I began to learn more, I took more and more notes, and eventually I had so many notes I thought this would really make a great book. Somebody ought to write one like that someday. After a few more years, God called me to be a bivocational pastor. And it was during that 5-year period that I really began to depend a whole lot more on God in prayer, because I could not, under my own power, maintain my full-time job and pastor this small church with all the people involved. So I really learned a lot more about God and prayer during that time. When I became fully retired, God said to me, "Write that book." I said, "Okay, I'll do it." But I wrote the book, and the result was perfect. What Jesus teaches us about building intimacy with God. It was about drawing closer and closer to God through prayer, through a study of that model prayer, and what a big difference it makes in our lives. As I was writing the book, I started a blog to write more about the same topics. I began writing a daily devotional, which is now in its 5th year. We formed a small team and renamed the ministry Mission Oneness, because we believe that it is the mission of every Christian to grow in oneness with God, just like Jesus was one with God. And over the last 6 months, we've started 2 podcasts to get to more people with the same message. All through these years, God has drawn me closer and closer to Him. And now I'm convinced that God's mission for me is to take His message of oneness to the world, to as many people as I can possibly get it to. How do I know that? I know that the closer I draw to God, the clearer I can hear His voice. And the more I become one with Him, the more I really understand what His will means in my life. One thing I have learned for sure is that growing in oneness with God is really a lifelong journey. I've learned a lot, but I still have a long way to go. And I thank God that He has led me on that journey, and He has given me that mission. Many Christians say, "I have a great difficulty hearing from God. I'm not sure when I hear His voice. It's difficult for me to tell what His will is in a given situation." That may be true, and I think that one thing that would help many Christians is to grow closer to God. The closer you are, the easier it is to hear Him. It's certainly true, and we can tell this from the Bible, that God has a general will that is true for all Christians, and that is He wants us all to glorify Him by becoming more and more like Christ, growing closer to Him, and being more like Him. But He also has a specific will for each one of us. I already mentioned mine. He has a specific will for you too, in any given situation, and a task He wants to accomplish in you for His kingdom. So my recommendation to you, if you're a Christian and you want to know more about God's will, seek to grow closer to Him. Grow in oneness with Him, because knowing God's will is one of the great benefits of becoming one with God. This is now our 6th video that we've produced recently, each one highlighting one benefit of growing in oneness with God. If you've missed any of them, you can see them all on our website. Just go to missiononeness.com/blog, and you can see them right there. They're the last 6 entries as of this point in time. Or you can go to our YouTube channel, Mission Oneness, and you can see them there as well. We certainly want to know what you think. So do me a big favor, and if you're on our blog or on our YouTube channel, go ahead and make a comment. We'd love to hear from you. We want to know what you think, how you feel about this. And since we're trying to get this message to as many Christians as possible, feel free to share this on social media or by sending a link to someone by email. In a couple of days, we're going to start publishing another short series of videos. These will be all about how you can grow in oneness with God, showing the steps you take, things to keep in mind. Growing in oneness with God can certainly benefit every one of His children, so be sure to share these as well. See you then.